Good morning and welcome. Good morning and welcome to the UW-Madison Division of Extension's Wise Wisconsin Virtual Learning Series. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Sarah and I'll be your moderator for today's session. As usual, I'm just going to go over a quick few announcements or housekeeping items. So during the presentation, please keep your mic muted unless there's an opportunity for engagement or questions. And feel free to post just questions in the chat as we go along. And we'll make sure to address them when the time is appropriate or at the end of the day's session. As a reminder, there's closed captioning available for those of you that would like to use it. So at the bottom of your screen, a little banner will pop up. And if you hit the little CC icon, you can enable your closed captioning that way. Our session will be recorded today and sent out after it's captioned, or actually posted on that YouTube link that I've been sending every with all the email reminders. If you scroll to the bottom of that, the newest posting will be there. I think the first week's posting is already there, and this pretty soon, today or tomorrow, the next posting will be there as well, or last week's session. Again, at the end, we'll post a link for evaluation for today's session, so please take a minute to fill it out. Our presenters would appreciate some feedback, and of course, we always appreciate your feedback so we know how we can best serve you next year for our programming. In addition to that, I'll be posting a quick Google form. Our presenters for next week on Wise Money would be interested in hearing any questions that you may have, or any topics that you're interested, so that they can cover topics that everyone is interested in. They want to be able to meet your needs. So thank you again for joining us. Today's session is on grandparenting, connecting through tradition and rituals, by Anna Clarkson and Alicia Utke-Becker. So I'm going to pass it over to them and they can formally introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm going to go ahead and post our slides and we'll get started with introductions. It's lovely to see so many smiling faces this morning. There we go. So as Sarah said, we will be speaking today on grandparenting, but especially this idea of how can we build connections through traditions and rituals with grandkids and, you know, even children. I am Anna Clarkson. I'm a state specialist with human development and relationships, and I usually focus on parenting and parent-child relationships and also the ways that children develop over the first 0 to 10 years of life. And I'm also a mom. I have 2 children. I have an 8-year-old who's in 3rd grade, a daughter, and a 6-year-old who's in kindergarten, a son. And it's a real pleasure to be here with you today.
Good morning. I'm Alicia Utke, and I'm in Sheboygan County. I'm a human development and relationship educator for UW Extension. I have a 19-year-old daughter, and most of my work for Extension is in lifespan, so supporting the aging community and also caring for caregivers. Anna's going to go ahead and get us started.
Thank you. So in case you want this later, we wanted to mention that there are a few activities throughout that are for you just to think about. And so if you want to grab a piece of paper and a pencil, that could be helpful for brainstorming some activities that we'll do later today. We also welcome conversation, either in the chat feature, like some of you have already used today, or if you want to, you know, when we're inviting conversation, if you want to turn on your mic and just have a conversation with us, we like that too. So we're really hoping that we are able to have a good conversation today. So our goal for this class is that after our hour together today, that you will be able to, first of all, define traditions and rituals. We also hope that we can explain why traditions and rituals matter for children's development and relationships. And we want to create space for you to connect your values, the things that are important to you, to rituals and traditions that you maybe already have or that you maybe want to start with your grandchildren. And finally, we want to create space for you to create and make rituals and traditions that matter to you. Before we jump into talking more, though, we want to get to know you a little bit better. So would you please type in the chat your name and one of your favorite family traditions or rituals, something that you enjoyed when you were growing up, or something that you enjoyed when you were parenting your children, or something that you enjoy now as a grandparent. So type into chat your name and one of your favorite family traditions or rituals. And if typing in chat is not your thing, you can also, turn on your mic and share it out loud with us. We'll just give you a little bit of time here to do that. Hi, Karen. Good to see you. Birthday celebrations. Oh, I love that. And Teresa, Thanksgiving. You can tell that I love traditions and rituals because I totally want to ask each of you, like, well, what do you do for your birthday celebrations and what's special at Thanksgiving? Jennifer, holiday meals with as many family members as can attend with favorite foods. Ooh, fun. Sandy, Christmas. Sharon, reading bedtime stories. Absolutely. A lot of times we think of these really big things, but traditions also are daily things that we can do. And Cheryl, baking, preserving, and cooking with the whole family, including the littles. What a legacy for those littles to learn all those skills right at your apron straps. Mary Lou, oh, your Christmas tree hunting, fun. And Donna, Easter egg hunt on your farm. Oh my goodness, what a huge space to look for Easter eggs. Sarah, Christmas and family camping weekend in May. Ooh, that sounds fun. And Marvin, holiday meals together and celebrating a mutual birthday. Ooh, they're pouring in right now. For 69 years with your aunt every year on the same birthday. Well, that's special. Jean, holiday meals and celebrations. I'm seeing a theme. Food is important, isn't it? Going to church for Christmas Eve. Yeah, we sometimes celebrate with more than just our family. Tammy, Christmas cookies. Okay, you guys, you have so many good ideas. We're going to save the chat. Crafting with your grandkids. Deb, your granddaughter, and you have a special recipe that you make every time the family gathers. Oh, that's really neat. And she's going to be able to do it with you for many years. I love that. Easter egg hunt, trick-or-treating, fishing, and hunting. Absolutely. And Melissa, a ghost supper, knowing the spirits are fed and content. Neat. And Sydney, midnight mass on Christmas Eve. Thank you all for sharing these traditions. It's really fun and special to hear about the things that make your families tick and that bring you joy as a family. Now that we know a little bit about your traditions and rituals, we wanted to define traditions and rituals. And then we'll talk about how we're going to use these terms today. So a tradition refers to the passing down of customs or beliefs from one generation to the next. A ritual, on the other hand, is a series of actions that are performed according to a prescribed order, and which is often embedded in a larger symbolic system, such as religion or philosophy. Okay, that was a lot of definition gobbledygook. So what does that really mean in practice? Well, when we're thinking about traditions, an example of a tradition would be celebrating birthdays. That's something that is maybe a little different in different cultures. I know that my husband had a Hungarian professor, and in Hungary, they celebrate name days. So people who share your same name have a day of the year that you all celebrate together. And it's similar, and also birthdays. So anyway, celebrating birthdays is a tradition. But blowing out the candles on the cake is a ritual. So we always blow out the candles before we eat the cake, for instance. Another example would be that while celebrating Halloween is a tradition, getting dressed in costumes and then trick-or-treating is a ritual. We do it in the same way to connect with other people. It's an order that we do it in. You can think about little things too. So you can have a ritual of drinking a cup of coffee or tea with your family in the morning. You wake up, you drink the coffee or tea, you talk. But it's not a tradition until it is passed down onto other people. As for instance, this is the way we always drink our coffee or tea to connect with family in the morning. So it becomes a tradition when it's passed down across generations. And the truth is, new rituals can be created at any time. And then to become a tradition, they only need to be understood and replicated by a bigger community of people. So done again by more people. Now that we have like pulled apart what are the differences between tradition and ritual, I am going to say today, while we're talking, we're going to use tradition and ritual to mean the same thing. So if you hear us say ritual or tradition, what we mean are things that your family does that have meaning to you. So I'm going to talk a little bit, but while I'm talking, please just think a little bit about where you see traditions and rituals in the world around you. So when I'm thinking about traditions and rituals, I think about ceremonies, holidays, even sporting events have traditions and rituals embedded in them. Traditions and rituals are everywhere that we look. So I want to hear from you. Let's brainstorm. What are some traditions and rituals that you've participated in or that you see in the world around you? It could be things your family does, or it might be other traditions and rituals that you just see in the world around you. Does anyone want to share in chat or unmute themselves and share out? And we have a few more fun family traditions here while you're thinking about, like, where do you see traditions and rituals? Jean shared Christmas ornaments, that each child has a theme and you keep giving them ornaments. Wow. And then, or you put them on your tree, and making gingerbread houses together. So family is one place where we see traditions and rituals. What are some other examples that you see in the world? Church, definitely.
Cheryl
So,
says church.
yep. Thank you, Cheryl. And school. Yep. Black Friday family shopping. That's totally a tradition. Yes, and a ritual. Holiday meals. Sporting event. Yes, Donna. I love thinking about football in particular, and some of the rituals that you see either before the game or after the game that the players have, like high fives, butt slaps, all sorts of different ways to say, hey, we're in this together and we're going to have a great game. Friday night fish fry. Yes. If you go to, Florida, they might not be as aware of what a Friday night fish fry is, but you come to Wisconsin and that tradition is strong. Okay, so we can see traditions and rituals all around us in our families, in our churches, in our schools, in our places that we recreate together. There's one more idea here. Yeah, family reunions, for sure. So when we get together with our small families or our bigger families. And you're right, gender reveal, that's also a new ritual. Not something that people did as much, honestly, even 40 years ago. And it's very common to see that today. So we see traditions and rituals all around us. And why do we see them all around us? Let me see if I skipped a slide. No. Well, because they're important. Rituals are formative. They help us shape who we are and who we will become. So rituals play very important functions in human society. Rituals can create predictable patterns and routines that can help people through their anxieties. Rituals can connect people to each other. They can make meaningful moments and memories. They can create unity and belonging. And this sense of connection and belonging, research shows, and we all know from our just individual lived experience, that when we feel connected and noticed and loved, that also leads to a sense of well-being and a sense of health. Rituals also can be used just for purely functional or utilitarian reasons. So if you think about an official meeting, the way that we conduct a meeting, some of you might be, parliamentarians and know Robert's Rules of Order really well. Well, an official meeting has an agenda, minutes, and also patterns about who is allowed to speak and when they're allowed to speak. And all of that is ritual that serves a function to allow people in a group to communicate and make decisions together. And finally, traditions and rituals can pass on important values and stories. So some of the rituals that we have that our grandparents shared with us and our grandparents before us and so on through the ancestors tell important stories about where we came from or the values that are important to us, or truthfully, if you even look at different cultures, things that would help people survive in the climate that their ancestors lived in, for instance. So rituals point to human values, and the traditions that societies or families or other groups of people have point to the things that are important to them, their values. I'm going to see what's in chat here, and then I have one more question for you all. Oh, such good other examples of meeting with siblings for breakfast to stay connected, and another sibling tradition of doing a basket for your siblings that you hope becomes a tradition. Beautiful. So sometimes we can look at people around us, like these people in this photo, and we can identify their values through the things that they're doing, through their rituals. So I'm curious what you all think when you look at this family in the photo. What do you think this family might value? Again, feel free to drop it in chat or turn on your mic and talk. What do you think this family in the photo might value? Each other. Absolutely. It looks like they're really focused on being together. And older adults, yeah, you see two younger looking adults, and their attention is focused on that woman in the middle who looks older. Respect for elders, I think so too, Cheryl. Yeah. Ooh, face-to-face connecting. That is a real detail, Sharon, because you're noticing that the phones are face down on the table. Ooh, good sleuthing there. Spending time together, staying connected. Yeah, so even in a simple photo, a still shot, we can see how the behaviors that people are engaging in can point to their values. Now we're gonna do that activity where I said you might need a piece of paper, because we are going to think about your top values. So what are the values that matter the most to you? And we want to connect them to how your traditions and rituals can support those values or do support those values already. And just a few more things you're noticing. That laughter and acceptance is some other values that you're noticing as you look at this photo. All right. Here is a list of possible values, and this is not a complete list. You'll see at the bottom it says what's missing. So I'm going to read through the list, and I would like for you to take a piece of paper or your phone or whatever is a useful way for you to collect this in your mind. And I want you to write down 3 of these words that are values to you. You will have the opportunity, you can share if you want, but you're not going to be asked to share. So just so you know, this can be private just for you. If something's missing or you have a value that's not on there, feel free to write that down instead. So let me read through the list, and as I'm reading, try and identify 3 values that are important to you. On the list, we have integrity, loyalty, honesty, creativity, humor, compassion, adventure, directness, kindness, spirituality, accountability, family, playfulness, responsibility, boldness, collaboration, striving, health, professionalism, fairness, respect, wellness, spontaneity, personal growth, perseverance, service to others, frugality, environmentalism, and zeal. And space for other values that you might have that aren't on this list. I'm going to look at the time here. Yeah, we have a little bit of time. Take a minute or 2 right now just to pause and think about what are your values, 3 of your top values. All right, go ahead and finish up your list. If any of you want to share your values in chat, you are welcome to.
It looks like Cheryl might have put something in the chat here. It says that their values, biggest three, are humor, compassion, and kindness. Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks for
Cheryl.
sharing. Understanding our, do you want me to move forward for time?
Well, I was just gonna say, so now you have your values and I'm gonna actually hand it off to Alicia.
Great, thanks. You can keep them coming if you want. We can always revisit it. And the values, will actually keep those in mind as we continue our talk today. So definitely keep those in mind. Understanding our values can help us understand how they affect our connection to others. Sometimes our values are different than other people's values, and that can make continuing a tradition exactly the same way difficult. As your children grow and become parents, their values might change. Sometimes that might end up causing fights or uncomfortable situations. Sometimes we need to re-examine our rituals and ask ourselves, do our current traditions and rituals still work for our family? You can ask yourself, do my rituals consider the people who might be uncomfortable? Is there a built-in option to pass or play? The photos in this slide are a really good example of tradition adaptation. So the tradition is that we visit Santa Claus. Have you ever been with a child visiting Santa who is terrified? Maybe they fall to the floor, or they start to cry, or they cling onto your leg. For many children, being asked to be held by a stranger, even a beloved stranger like Santa, can be really difficult. Many parents are now valuing children's autonomy and choice, and they're letting their child decide who they'll hug or who they'll touch. And so that's kind of a value change. They value this autonomy, they value this choice. So then the traditions have to change. In the photo of the little girl in Santa, that's one of my friend's daughters, and they talked to her and they let her decide. And so she chose to stand in front of Santa instead of sitting on his lap, excuse me. So she had the opportunity to feel comfortable. She still got to tell him what she wanted for Christmas. They still got that great photo, but she got to make that decision. So that's adapting the tradition. And the other photo is a good example of how Disney characters are trained to hold out a hand or open their arms for a hug, but to follow the child's lead and let the child decide if they want to be hugged or not. Sometimes it's sad to see old traditions and rituals end, but consider continuing rituals that are in alignment with your values and that are working for your family and for the individuals in your family. If you have traditions or rituals that are no longer serving your family, consider how you can adapt them or what completely new ritual you'd like to begin. Better understanding our values can help us better understand how we best connect with others. Through traditions and rituals, we can share life's lessons and moments that were once shared with us as children. We can adapt traditions and rituals to be sure that they're relevant and in alignment with our values. We can choose traditions and rituals to connect with family and create a sense of unity and belonging. Let's see, on the next slide. Just take one quick little drink. Sometimes traditions take planning and effort, like your big family trip or a graduation party or even Thanksgiving dinners are all traditions that take some planning. In the photo on the slide, it's a grandparent and their grandchild at UW-Madison Grandparent Camp. So attending a program for grandparents and grandchildren or attending your grandchild's extracurricular activities, those can both be really great ways to build connection through ritual. You can also make everyday occurrences or routines into meaningful experiences and opportunities to connect. So One routine might be like a bedtime routine. So generally you brush teeth, you get a cup of water, you read a couple books, you give a hug, turn on that night light, turn off the big light, ask if they want the door open or closed. All throughout that bedtime routine, you could take the opportunity to build an intent and moments of deep connection, turning it into rituals. Are there some routines that you have with your grandchildren? Maybe you live close and you are the one that gets to drive them to school, or you feed them some of their meals, change their diaper, or put them to bed. Maybe you live far away and you get to do video calls, or you send things through snail mail, through the postal service. These are routines, but through repetition and emphasizing your values, you can turn it into a ritual. For instance, in this photo, there's a dad brushing his daughter's hair. Really, all he needs to do is brush her hair. But if his value is self-esteem, maybe every time he brushes her hair, he can tell her 3 reasons why he loves her. So that turns that hair brushing routine into a ritual. We can do this at meal times too. Like maybe your value was service to others. So you clean up someone else's plate when you're done eating, or maybe it's respect. So you thank the cook and clean up the cook's plate and tell them specifically something you enjoyed about the meal. So we want to invite you to tell us, do you have any ideas of how you can change an everyday routine that you're doing in your family into a meaningful ritual? You can unmute or you can put it in the chat. If you're thinking about, yeah, there's something that I do on a daily basis that I'd really like to do more intentionally, more mindfully. While we wait, I'll tell you a little story about, while we wait for that to come in the chat or someone to unmute, I'll tell you a little story about just the basic thing of having popcorn. So my grandpa would always make popcorn and he turned it into this really lovely ritual because I always had to stand in the same spot so I wouldn't get injured. And he made it on the stove and he would have me listen to it popping and he would have me smell the smells. And so this ended up being like this basic thing of like serving your grandchild popcorn ended up being like this full ritual sensory experience that I still to this day, when I smell popcorn, I still like feel a little grandpa love. Jennifer says, when I comb my granddaughter's hair, I always talk about how beautiful her hair is and how I'm so happy to be able to braid it for her. Oh, that's so sweet, Jennifer. I bet your granddaughter will carry that moment with her forever. That's so sweet. Well, for time's sake, we'll just move along to the next slide. Let's see here. Thank you. So everyday moments are opportunities for meaningful rituals. And grandparents, you really are the meaning makers. You get to slow down, give attention, listen, and plan. So for some of you who are maybe struggling to figure out like, how can I turn a routine into a ritual? Here's some ways. So we use intention, attention, and repetition. So the intention is the reason beyond the functioning. So asking yourself why. The attention is finding a way in the moment to give full attention and awareness. So using those 5 senses, like I told you about my grandpa, like smelling the butter, listening to the popcorn, and then repetition, just repeating over time. Let's see, we've got one more in the chat. I have my grandson take my hand and decide what we pay with. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, so Anna's gonna start a little video that shows us how sleepovers can be kind of a routine thing, a thing that you need to do sometimes, but they can be turned into a ritual and sometimes they can even be turned into a tradition. So we have a little video about a grown-up sleepover.
Before I start it, I'll just say it's a little quiet and it is as loud as I can make it. So if you want to turn up your volume on your device right now, you probably will appreciate it to hear the video.
Oh, Anna, this is back. Go back to the last slide to the Facebook video.
Sorry.
That's
Just
okay. We got plenty. We weren't sure if we were going to do it because we weren't sure on time, but we've got plenty of time for it.
I just have to hop out of here and go to this. Thanks for being patient with me, you all.
Yeah, thank you for doing all that technology stuff. It can be tricky.
Okay, let's pause and make this. Okay, let me share again. There we go. Okay, can you see a Facebook page right now, you guys?
Yep, we see your full screen.
I'm not sure how I.
Surprise.
Hold on, let's share it one different way, and then you'll be able to see the video better.
Now we can see it really well.
Okay, I will just go like this because then you'll see the closed caption too.
Surprise. Surprise. I think we're sleeping over.
Wasn't it just yesterday? I felt your skin on mine, held you in my arms, fell in love a billion times. Crawled a walk, first breath to talk, letting go of that bike, like a train and wheels off. Oh, but watch that clock, those hands, they never stop. Give me a replay, give me a rewind. There's a way to slow down time. Someone show me how. Make it right now. How do you hold on to the moments that are here and gone, man, before you know it? It's all in the past, slipping through the cracks. We're never gonna get them back. So why you gotta make them last? 'Cause they grow up too fast.
Hi, surprise.
Thanks for sharing that, Anna. Every time I watch it, I get a little misty-eyed. I love a good sleepover. I love a good sleepover, and this is one of those things that it's like the act of getting together as adults and doing sleepovers is kind of like, it's like trending. It's becoming this popular thing, and I think it just fills so many people with joy. I just absolutely love it. We'll go on to the next slide. So everyday moments are opportunities. Oops, I already did that one. Hold on. Little things that we take for granted, like hellos and goodbyes, can have lasting memories and impact. So we're going to watch another little video, and it's about a mom. It's a mom with her daughter, and she's showing her daughter how the great-grandmother who lived a little far away would greet them. And this is the video that Anna was telling us is a little quiet. But you'll be able to, I think you'll be able to get an understanding.
So we would only visit grandma about once or twice a year, but when we would arrive and we would step into her home, she would take both of our hands, hold you at arm's length, and look you from toe to head back down to toe and say, "You look good." And it was the process of holding your both hands and really looking at you for who you were. And she always had a positive comment. And that was her greeting every time we would see her. Yep.
We know that living a distance away can make connecting a little tougher. But even from miles away, states away, or even countries away, you can make meaningful connections. I'm really interested to hear from you. What are some of the special ways that you connect from a distance? Do you have anything that you do to connect with people who live far away? You can unmute or you can put it in the chat.
We have a family Facebook site. It's our site, and we can put things on about reunions or whatever, but every once in a while we'll throw in a joke for a day, or I just had this memory of grandma doing this. Do you remember her doing this or whatever? And it's nice to out of nowhere get a message from my niece in Maryland, and with her thinking the same thing, or reminding me of someone's love.
I love that. Such a simple way of connecting. It only takes a couple minutes, but it just like fills you up for the rest of the day.
Yes.
Yeah, Terry says that they do text messaging. Absolutely. My 19-year-old and I, we do a lot of Snapchatting back and forth, kind of just checking on each other. And if somebody doesn't reply or respond, then all the worries start happening. That's our main connection. Jennifer says they do video calls, send birthday and Valentine cards and thinking of you cards, text messages. Sue says that she loves video chats and phone calls. Mary Lou Quinn says that her granddaughter plays basketball 100 miles away and that she watches the game on YouTube and texts her for encouragement. That's amazing. Gotta love technology and how it's been able to really connect us. And you also have family chat. It sounds like so many of you have found ways to have meaningful connection, even with some of the barriers that distance can cause. One of the stories that Anna had shared with me when we were creating this program was about a friend of hers who they moved down south and they missed the leaves, the changing of the leaves in autumn. And so the grandparent who still lived in the north sent a box of leaves so that they would be able to enjoy the fall colors down south. I thought that was really sweet too. Let's move forward a slide, Anna. So now we just want to check in with you and see what you'll take with you from today. And does anyone want to unmute and share their thoughts about today's program, something that the class brought, some feelings that the class brought up, or what ideas that they're gonna use?
I'm going to start looking at routines to see how I can use routines to bring in some kind of a ritual, or because we get kids every other weekend. And so, having them come, going through the motions of bath time and all of those kinds of things, just trying to look for those moments that might establish those connections.
Yeah, I love that. That's so meaningful. Yeah, Mary Lou.
I just wanted to mention that I think a lot of times the difference of a generation between the grandparent and the grandchild, they listen to one another a lot better than the next generation does, who's busy, the parents busy with and distracted. So I find that with my grandchildren.
Yeah, I always thought it was funny to tell people this, but my best friend was my grandpa. So I was like a little kid with an older man best friend. And I always thought that that was so comical, but he always he had the time and the patience and those values that he wanted to pass on to me, and just so powerful to have a grandpa as your best friend. It looks like in the chat, let's see. And Jennifer says that it's always fun to tell grandkids about their parents when they were little. I love that. I also love hearing the grandparents tell my kids about when they were little, because sometimes I get to hear stories that I never got to hear. They never told me those stories, but they're telling my daughter those stories.
Well, being a male, this isn't something that I have thought about too much, so I will be doing some thinking, looking backwards and forwards. And my wife has been really cool. We have 4 grandkids, 2 of them are in college, and she has them texting her once a week with a quick message to Grammy, tell me what you're doing, even if you say hi. So she's got that set up with all 4 of them.
That's great. That's wonderful. I love that you're thinking about how you might do some little extra work to get something set up for yourself too. There's another chat. Let's see. Sharon says, agree with Mary Lou. We try to play board games with our 5 and 8-year-old grands when we visit them 5 hours away. My grandson says, I wish my parents would play games with us. Oh. They do play with them, but not nearly as often as they'd like them to. Yeah.
You know, that ties into something I've been thinking about while we've been talking today. I was thinking that when I was little, both my grandmothers baked bread. And one of my favorite things was to get to bake bread with them. And like, I can remember the blue bowl that one grandmother used and, you know, like the recipe the other grandmother used. And even though I know how to bake bread and I love to bake bread, I don't think I've ever baked bread with my own children, you know, because it is something that I need to make, I don't always make time for as a parent. But it's fun how kids sometimes make rituals too, because I have made time to bake chocolate chip cookies with my children. And my daughter now says, like, has labeled it as the best, you know, this is the secret and best chocolate chip cookie recipe, you know. And yeah, I guess I just was thinking about how those generational differences happen and how sometimes seasons of life allow us to do different things.
Yeah, I like that look at like the seasons of life look. That sometimes we have different bandwidth through different seasons, for sure. And I feel like there's a lot of grandparents are helping parents through those seasons by being the driver to some of the things and being the person that picks kids up from childcare and all of that. So that's such a great community that we're building for our children. So I think our next slide is just us saying thanks and asking if anybody had any questions.
Just a little story since we have some time.
Yeah, we do.
It's one that I used to use a lot in talking about traditions and families. So when I was in college, I had a friend who her parents were from out east, and when they moved to the Appleton area, Saturday night was beans and wieners night. So every Saturday night we would have beans and wieners. If we were visiting, they just knew Saturday night was beans and wieners. So they didn't have to think about what it was going to be. And so that would happen when I go to visit, and I didn't think much of it. Well, one Christmas I couldn't get home because of bad weather and my car wasn't real dependable. And I was going to have a ride on Christmas Day, but Christmas Eve I was going to be by myself. So I was invited over to their house. And so I thought, well, that'll be kind of neat and interesting. And I wonder what we're going to have to eat. And I grew up on a farm, so we didn't eat out of kettles, but we had nice dishes and stuff, but we didn't eat by candlelight. Well, okay, so I go to Becky's house and the table's set up real fancy with those dishes with the covers, and the candelabras on the table. And I kind of wonder what we're having. It smells like beans. I went, oh, probably ham and beans. No, what I forgot was Christmas Eve that year was on Saturday night. So we had beans and wieners by candlelight. And so that's something in their family that they've passed on. And, and now her parents have both passed away, and she said she only does it once a month now. But she did carry that tradition for a long time in the family that's what it was going to be. And talking to other families, sometimes it's pizza night, or, everybody comes together for roast beef on first Sunday of the month, or whatever it might be. But sometimes it's those kinds of things that bring some warm memories to people. And so it's kind of like, Alicia, what you were talking about, the popcorn, the savoring, the smelling, and the whole experience of it, and the appreciation that you carry, and what you teach to others about those appreciations of things in life. So that's my little story.
I love it. Thanks for sharing, Karen.
And Terry added to chat that you love when the grandchildren talk about, remember this, remember that, little things make a difference. Absolutely.
My favorite is when they say best day ever. Like when you're like not even putting in maximum effort and they're like, this was the best day ever. I will always remember this. You're like, yes, we will do that again.
Well, thank you all for chatting about rituals and traditions with us today. It's really fun. And we hope that it's fun also to see the comments you have about ways that you're looking forward to thinking about or expanding your rituals and traditions. And I know Sarah has a survey. And I think maybe we could pass it to you and let you.
Yeah. Thank you, Alicia and Anna, for joining us today. I really enjoyed this, and thinking about things that remind me of my grandparents, and even things that my parents and my partner's parents do with our kids it's so special. So thank you very much. I did post a link to the evaluation and to the form for next week. And here is a link to the evaluation just to bring it back down in the chat so you don't have to scroll for it. If you could take a few moments, you can do that right now. Click on it, pull it up. The Google form for next week is just 2 questions. Do you have any specific questions about finances that you want answered, I guess? I know they might not be able to cover all topics depending on how specific it is, and they do already have a prepared session, but they wanted to make sure to hit on some of the topics you all are interested in. So that's the second question. What are some topics? So if you have things, please fill out that form. Otherwise, we'd really appreciate for you to fill out today's evaluation and share your feedback with our presenters and on what we can do better, other topics for next year. So thank you all so much for joining. And when you're done with the evaluation, you can close out, or you can save that in your tab on your internet browser. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day.